Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu's set up a try from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Righto, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan, coach of Badonkadonk. Right there, Glenn?
Yeah, a big thing come across my screen and went all black, and I was like, "What's going on?" I fixed it.
It wouldn't be a Tragics podcast without the intro getting tech difficulties straight away. Love it. Well, as you all know, my name's Dan. I'm the host, coach of Badonkadonk. Pretty crappy week for me, really. It was a couple of my calls that I made last week were pretty good. But the rest of my team didn't fire. So how about you, Glenn?
Yeah, I had a good week. I got Green Arrows. I got 13-13. I won the draft comp, so I'm the minor premier in that, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I left a lot on the bench, bro. I was going to play Apai over Cook. Apai got 120. I had 3 players on the bench score really big scores and still won it. So, but I only dropped to about 11K or 12K or something, so I was 13. So there's nothing to bridge up about.
That's all good. Green Arrows are Green Arrows, mate. Yeah. I got an 11.99. So I think one of my calls I was gonna trade I was gonna play Schuster over Taruva, and I did, and he got a good score. So a lot of my calls that I did make, and the other one I was gonna make and I didn't stick to my gut was I was gonna trade out Manu for Osako. Wouldn't have been the worst option because I reckon the run home for Osako is better, but in the end Osako got 59 points, so wasn't a big decider in my outcome in the end. So still just outside the top 1,000 now, so not too far off. Still happy. My team's looking pretty good, making some trades this week, which I may keep under my belt because I'm in the head-to-head finals now, and there's a couple of guys that might be listening to this that might want to try to get a sneak peek of my trades. So I will say one thing.
Phonies, bro.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna bring in. Can I bring in Lewis Brown?
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's get started. So, as per usual, we'll start off with the Tragics overall group, and we have a new leader, whopping 1,400 plus score this week. Here come the Bears. Glenn has taken the lead back in 6th place overall. I reckon what we should do, we should reach out to the Sangstar and say if Here Come the Bears comes first overall, not only should he get the 50K, he should also be able to be the bring back the Bears ambassador, and the North Sydney Bears should be reinstated to the comp. That's my
absolutely.
Yeah, he deserves it. So, and in 2nd place, who was in the first last week, that's Lux for Losers, and he's in 10th overall. So very, very close up there. Top 5 are all top 100. So yeah, very competitive league.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
awesome.
They've done well. I do the scores for the Andrew Jobs Cup, and the top 10 have all had a really good season. They really have.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see some competitiveness in there. So maybe that's, you're not getting worse. Maybe everyone else around us is getting better. That's what we'll say. That. Yeah. Awesome.
I own it. Bad calls and bad luck.
That's it, mate. All right, let's start with game 1. Thursday night, I got the Roosters versus Manly. Anything in this game that strikes your fancy?
No, I mean, people are talking about selling Manu. I mean, I'd probably hold off for this game. I think that this matchup for Manu is actually quite good. I'm actually considering playing Billy Smith as well. I've got him on the bench over Taruva, who's playing the Storm, because my 3rd choice there, I actually bought in Latrell last week. And I'm considering it anyway. Reuben Garrick, I still think he's a hold 2 for this matchup. I think both these sides are no one I'd be buying. I don't think I'd be chasing anyone from either of these teams myself, mate. If you're looking for a trade up to trade down, see a Wong at 2nd row, mate. He's an absolute gun, but his lifespan's probably short. So if you're looking for someone enough out that you need for 1 round maybe or something, you've got a Preston or someone in the Bulldogs that you don't have someone to play, then Wong could be a trade down to trade up somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're looking to nuff out, which is a good time to nuff out to build your team up for the finals. Absolutely. So. Yeah. I've got Garrick, I've got Manu. I'm holding for the run home. I'm not confident on holding Manu, but in saying that, like before last week, he was getting 79, 92, 78. Like he's getting some good scores, and then he gets an 18 last week. So, and I think after watching that game, I was watching him do nothing. I can tell you right now, they're not going to allow that to happen again. They're going to see that him doing nothing, not getting his hand on the ball, is a key factor in the Roosters winning. So him and Teddy need to really step up, and I think that they will. Robinson's a good coach. He'll sort it out. And I reckon Manu will come good. Probably averages about 60, 65 on the run home, my guess.
If you ever listened to this podcast before in previous years, you'll hear me talk about the Roosters a lot, about how they have their shapes out the back. I really love the way they play short and they play out the back. They have this whole setup that they do right and left. I've seen none of that this year. None of this short Tedesco out to, Manu or long to Suwali. None of that stuff. I don't see any of that shape happening as they come out. They really are in 6s and 7s. And I think a lot of that's got to do with the platform being laid in the middle. I think they're a forward or two light in the middle. I'm not quite sure I can't put my finger on it with them. He is a good coach and they've got a very good side. I actually had them for a bet to win $1,000 along with Penrith to make the grand final, and they've just not delivered, have they?
No, I think I know this is probably I guess hot take. I guess I reckon they need Sam Walker back there.
Yeah.
I think he did a lot of that work in the middle to deliver the good ball to the forwards as well. And I think when he's back from injury, I think it's going to be a bit of a key player because they've been building that partnership between Keary and him for a while now, and I think it'll be a lot better when he's back. So,
yeah, my opinion on Walker. I'm not as a big a fan as you are on Sam Walker. I think Sam Walker's a great player. He reminds me of Hines in the sense that he's too lateral. He does this after cup stuff, and the stuff that he does is amazing. The problem is it's the stuff that he does off the ball that really frustrates me. And he doesn't play. I just think Keary and him are too much alike. I personally think Walker's okay in a side if you had a running 5'8", but they both are very similar players to me.
Yeah.
But look, the way they're playing at the moment, I think Walker would ignite some spark in that side for sure.
Yeah, I know we're probably going on too long about this game, but one thing I noticed, and the reason why I thought Sam Walker being back would actually help, is how easy it was for them to go straight to that kicker, put pressure on Keary every single time. They knew the ball was going to him, and they just dominated him. And having Sam Walker there gives another option. That's why I thought if Manu stepped up and actually was around that ball, I can guarantee you that would have been a bit more of they could skip out Keary and get to Manu, and then it's another option where they could have scored heaps of tries if they did that, but they didn't. So, but we're just super coaches, we're not coaches. So,
but I'm a big fan of two kicking halves. Yeah, I always have been.
Yeah. All right. So Friday night's first game. I don't know how they got a home game, Friday night game, but Gold Coast versus the Warriors. It could be. I think Warriors are dominating this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. There could be a few buys from this, I'm not sure what Charles Nickel-Clockstead's priced at now or Dylan Wanesiak, but they're both legitimate plays for the whole run home now after that buy they've just had. They've got no buys. So Aiden Fanua-Blake is always good. If you're looking for a pod, I don't hate Niokora or Ford. People will be holding Ford. I wouldn't be letting go of Warriors. But if you're chasing anyone, and one of the questions we'll get to later with one of the people that are asking questions about this game, so I'll leave that for there, I guess. I wouldn't be chasing anything. Even David Fafita at the moment, I'm not happy with our Tino. They're just a different side, and the other player in that side, he's not now there now. The one that was in last week, Jaden Campbell, I really dislike him in the side. But Andrew Fafita, David Fafita, because he takes so much freaking ball.
Yeah. And it's usually only for that, 15 minutes at the end of the game. But that's when that's when Fafita usually comes out. If the game's on the line and they just get the ball for Fafita, he gets in the dummy half and then takes control, steals the ball for himself and scores tries. Yeah. But when you've got the other game breaker in Campbell out there as well, you're kind of taking a lot of those points away from Fafita, which is really weird to see someone like that taking points away from a second rower, but he does because he's the game breaker. So
he just takes so much ball. And he's a good player, but I think he just takes too much ball, and I don't know. And Fafita looked very lazy last week. I thought he had moments, but he just didn't seem his usual self. And I feel like he's frustrated on that edge with him in the side, Campbell.
Yeah, I feel because I've actually been death riding Fafita for the last few weeks since he's been back. Since I could get him back, I guess. And I'm like, at the moment, I've been surviving. Like I'm not getting hurt. I'm not owning him. I've saved that money because it would have been someone like Koala Matangi up to him. And it would have been a lot of extra cash to go up to him as well. And Kawamatangi, while not scoring as much as him, I think the points per dollar, I'm looking a lot better. So,
Yeah, points per dollar, I agree.
All right, this game should be a good game. I think Panthers get up. But Panthers versus the Storm. This is a real Friday night game, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be a good game. I don't know if there's anyone I'd be buying. I mean, Toho is probably one I would be interested in. Storm are known for letting points in on their edges, specifically the edge that Toho plays on. I said it last week, Toho, and he played really well as well. I really like Toho. I mean, if you don't own Cleary, I wouldn't be rushing him against the Storm. They defend halves well. Yeah, I don't see a great deal in these other than Cameron Munster from the Storm. Nick Meaney's a hold and a play, even though it's first. He's a hold, but I don't know if he's a play. He could be, with starts this week, you might want to leave him on your bench. And Panthers do defend backs really well, specifically fullbacks. So
yeah, definitely. The backs, I've got him in my team now, and he's one of the guys I'm contemplating either putting on the bench and then trading later, or potentially actually just trading him out, because I'm looking at the draw on the run home, and his scores haven't been massive. They've been strong and stable. So I feel like I want to get maybe a game breaker from him, but that might be up for grabs later this week.
You're looking for a pod, by the way. Jerome Luai has actually been scoring. I own him in my drafts, right? And he's been absolutely killing it for me. And he's been one of my better scoring players, as well as two of the Bulldogs players that aren't playing this week. But luckily, I've got a week off, so I don't have to touch my side. Jerome Luai is an interesting pod. So if you're in the head-to-heads and you've got someone that's got Walker, the Munsters, or the whatever. I mean, there's one much better coming up, in my opinion, in Dylan Brown. But Jerome Luai, Panthers play left a lot more than you realise. You'd think with a side with a Cleary in it, as dominant as Cleary is, that they'd play a lot of their play right, but they don't. Cleary steps to the left of the ruck and then shoots to Luai, who steps and jigs and then puts that second pass in. So often it's more to Luai than it is to Cleary. So, I just think if you're looking for a pod, Luai could be a man.
Yeah, I think he's
not this week.
No, not this week. But I think the last 3 weeks his average is around 80, 85 around there. Yeah. So he's been pretty good. So been pretty solid there. And it kind of makes sense when you think about them playing left a lot, because I have the amount of times I've been frustrated that Peachy hasn't passed the ball to Ruba. You know they're definitely left a lot, because I got frustrated quite a lot. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So game number 1 on Saturday is I'm looking forward to this one. Broncos versus the Cowboys. Your thoughts here, mate?
Yeah, so there's quite a few I like in this game, mate. So from the Broncos to start off with, I think if you're looking for a pod fullback, Reece Walsh is your man. And I think he could actually score really well in this game. I actually think that the Broncos win this game, and I think they win it well. I know others might not agree with me with the local derby and all that stuff, being it's a Cowboys home game and stuff. But I just think they will. I think they're too big, too strong. But the other two that I've been saying every week, and I'm going to keep repeating it every week, and they keep performing every week, is Stags and Farnworth. I own both. I own Farnsworth in one draft and Stags in another, and they've just been both doing. Farnsworth's been a lot more consistent than Stags, but Stags has his moments. He's an interesting one to play on matchup. I think he's that one you could have as your 5th or 6th centre wing and play on matchups, and I think this matchup suits him really well.
Because he likes the tougher matchups, and I think even though this one might not be the tougher matchup, I think it's the whole derby, the everything's built up around it. He will turn up for it. Yeah.
The Cowboys will compete for a good part of this game. Don't doubt me in that. But Valentine's Holmes missing out from the centre there for 4 weeks out. So who have they got on the bench there for him? Elliot, I can't even see who they got. Granville, Griffin, Neem, Lukey, Tanoa Brown. Geez, they were pretty confident. Felt. It'll be Kyle Felt. Oh, you actually knew that. Tuolagi's moved into centre and Felt's moved. I actually remember reading it. So
that makes sense, that because the next question I was going to ask was who kicks, and we know Felt will probably be kicking. Do you think?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Kyle Felt will kick. That's why, and he's come in onto the wing. So there's a chance that Townsend could kick as well, and even Drinkwater. I think Felt's the answer. I think you've nailed it, mate.
I think.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say obviously the other one that people are asking about is Payne Haas. I don't like buying forwards at this time of the year. I think that you should have good forwards already. If you don't own Haas, I don't know if he's going to offer you the ceiling that you'd be looking for the run home. And the same with Carrigan. I think Carrigan actually is an interesting one for me. But that's all I was going to say, mate. Sorry.
No, I think you're right. I think I try to have when I'm building my team throughout the year, I try to do my set forgets in the front row.
Yeah.
They're the first ones I'm leading to because that's no more problem for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then I start to rotate through my backs and my halves and my high ceiling positions towards the end of the year. So, but nothing really else to add. I think he probably plays a lot better this game. I think he scores a lot better than he has done. I think because this is more of a tougher game, there might be more minutes for him. So I think I reckon might be a much bigger game. So hopefully more points for Haas.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that. I mean, they got Smoothie on the bench, which is interesting. So should see good minutes for Haas. He could average between 70 and 90, which is, good for Supercoach, but he still doesn't offer you the ceiling. And that's where we're looking at for this time of year. You really want to, if you're going to spend your money, you want the Latrells, the Dylan Browns, the ones that can actually come out and get you the 140s and the 150s,
Yeah, definitely.
and consistently.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Speaking of ceilings, I think this next game is full of ceiling players, and we've got the Dolphins versus the Knights. A few ceiling players, and this one to pick from.
Yeah, well, so there'll be one on. I'll start with the Dolphins because we've got Cody Nikorima who's moved into centre. So anyone who owns him, that's actually ugly from my perspective. I don't like that at all. Although because he's got the passing game, I'm not sure what side he's playing on, but it could be interesting for Ozako if he's on that side. I'm not sure what side he's playing, but I have a feeling that's the side he's on. Well, Fare's been playing on the other side, hasn't he?
Honestly, I was trying to go to that. I saw a question in one of the chats, and I'm pretty sure he's played both sides.
Yeah.
When he came in from the bench, I'm pretty sure he played on the right side, and then when he played a more longer game, he played on the left side. I think he's played both sides.
Yeah, well, if Nikorima's on the inside of Ozako, I don't hate that for Ozako. But
is Ozako on the left hand side?
Ozako's on the right.
Yeah, I think Ozako might be more adaptable to switching sides, being a more half kind of style player.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from the other side, I mean, Kalen Ponga averaging 136. The guy is on fire. He's a dead set captain choice, and if you don't own him, there's your player, the ceiling player that you want to be chasing. I mean, he has just been incredible, and I really love him. The other one that everyone knows about Marzu, but the two that aren't being spoken enough about, in my opinion, is Gagai and Best. They are both delivering as well. Best is on the ball a lot, and Gagai's base is incredible for a centre wing. The whole back of that. And the other one, as we spoke about before, is Lachlan Fitzgibbon. He just keeps on delivering. I own him as well in my draft side. And another one for me that's just quietly achieving, just one of them ones that, just quietly kicking along.
That's it. Yeah, I think watching just a lot of the will to play for Gagai on the weekend. He was just up for a fight. If they were getting caught in the corner, he would grab it, he'd run. He'd do that I call it the Andrew Fafita run, where you run sideways, palm about 10 guys off you and get tackled by Galore and then start going forward.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good for NRL, but it looks good for your Supercoach team. So
that's right.
It.
Yeah. Well, they're the players you want. Players that are ball hogs and players that touch 10 people before or run crab across. Like Hines, that's what makes Hines good. He does a lot of that lateral movement, and sometimes that can create space and put players in. If I'm a coach, I'm filthy on that. I want my players playing direct with the short balls. And I've seen him do some incredible good balls, like the one Cleary done to Sorensen just a few rounds ago.
That's the one to Garner.
Garner, sorry, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
That's how my halves should be playing football. Direct.
Real in the line, not scared to get hit. I love that, watching that kind of footage.
Absolutely, yeah. But look, you couldn't go wrong with anyone in the back line pretty much from the Knights, from the 1 right down to the 5, man.
And a good run home too, with good draw.
They have.
Both these teams have a good draw on the run home, actually. So,
and Ponga's lighting both sides up. He's coming on left, he's playing on the right. He's left side dominant mostly, which means it's really good for Marzu. So, Ponga and Marzu are connecting quite a bit. But they're still finding their way to Young, as you'll see. Young's been crossing the line enough as well. But, yeah, Best and Marzu, they're just lighting up.
Yep, love it. All right, next game. So the final game on Saturday, we've got the Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Cronulla Sharks. I think with Latrell back in the team, game 2 now. I think Rabbitohs put it on them. I think the Sharks are gone.
I agree. I think the Sharks are going to not make the 8, but I think both these sides are struggling for form. The problem is for the Rabbitohs is Totola being out of the middle. That punch up the middle is really impacting them. But Latrell makes them, I think an 8-point, 10-point better side.
Yeah.
And I think they'll beat the Sharks comfortably. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. People might not agree with me, but that's my take on this. The player in this one that I like, and I've been saying all along, is Isaiah Tass. If you had to listen to me 5 rounds ago and you bought Isaiah Tass, he's been averaging, I can't remember what it is, but I own him in my draft, and he's been, I think, my highest scorer, like one of my highest scoring players. So I don't hate that with Latrell going left, Cody Walker going left, and Isaiah Tass often puts the last pass to Johnson. As you saw, he put in 2 tries this last week. He's been scoring tries for fun. And the other one, obviously, is Alex Johnson. Look, he's not playing on the side where the Sharks actually are leaking. The other side is, which is Milne and Campbell Graham. So a good pod to bring in this week could possibly be Campbell Graham against that right edge of the Sharks.
Yeah, I've always liked Campbell Graham.
Yeah,
when he was always pretty average when he was on the wing.
Yeah.
Then as soon as he got moved to center, he really just started. Well, I know, I guess he just went up a notch, and everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's actually doing really well." So,
it's tough.
Yeah, he's very tough. Yeah, and he knows how to find the line as well. He got that long lever, so he can get an offload away to the winger as well. So, yeah.
From the Sharks, I actually reckon Mulatalo's a sell. I personally, if you want to upgrade a player, that's the player I'd be looking at. Other people might not agree with me. I personally don't like Mulatalo. I don't like the job security around Talakai and Mulatalo, although they're back at their full now. They've got Connor Tracy at the back. Kennedy out's going to hurt them a little as well. You know, the way he plays out the back. Although Connor Tracy is a half and he has got a good passing game, so that could play well to Mulatalo and Talakai. But Britt Nakora is the only one there I think is a genuine own. Even though last week he got moved to centre. The only problem with Nakora is that if a centre goes down, he gets moved. He's the first one moved, and that's what happened last week. But he still scored relatively well.
Here's the thing with when a centre or a winger does go down, they tend to find the most fastest lateral second rower.
Yeah, the one that can move.
Yeah, because obviously they've got to defend a bit differently against wingers and centres, so they have to find the guy that's safer to defend in that side there. So. I've got Nakora. I'm keeping Nakora for the run home as well. They got a tough run home, but I think for a second rower, not the worst thing in the world. So,
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Next game, Sunday game 1. We got the Parramatta Eels versus the Dragons. There's some pretty juicy matchup for Parramatta here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, listen, I sold Clint Gutherson last week, knowing this matchup was coming because I wanted to get Latrell because I had Ponga and Latrell. But I kind of oohed and ahed, and in hindsight, if I'd known that he was going to score what he scored, even though he scored a little bit more than Gutherson, I probably would have held based on this matchup because I think Gutherson in this game is a genuine C option. If you own Gutherson, I wouldn't be selling this particular round. So if you're considering going Gutherson to Latrell this week, based on matchups, I wouldn't be doing that. I think the Sharks will defend Latrell better than the Dragons will defend Gutherson. But that, but Latrell's a better player with a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
But the matchups in here that you spoke of, so Ryan Madison at 500k, starting at second row, I think he's a buy. So if you're looking to trade out of Preston and it gives you a bit of money going down, or somebody that you're considering, and Preston would be the one that I imagine people are considering based on this buy, just keep in mind that the Eels have a buy on the last round if you're an overall player. If you're a head-to-head player, though, Parramatta's a great side to get players for. But although their draw gets a little tougher, but Madison's draw, what's that word we use? Draw. It doesn't really matter what the draw is. He's phenomenal.
He's fixture proof. Yeah.
Fixture proof. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Jamea Hopgood is a genuine captain option in my opinion of this round. The only fear I have is that Davey's on the bench, and there could be a late switch of Davey into second row, Madison back to bench. If I knew for 100% fact, I would go VC Ponga and captain Maddo as a pod, or even Hopgood. I believe that both of them will score 80 plus in this game, possibly more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch anybody from the Dragons, possibly Lomax if you're looking for an absolute pod.
Yeah, well, I know the Eels haven't been too good, really, but I think having Maddo on the field for longer would help that. Having Dylan Brown back is definitely going to help that. But I say it's their game 1 with that structure for them, so they still have to gel a little bit. But in saying that, it is the Dragons, so I reckon Parramatta can lick a few points But when you're defending Dragons, it should be okay for him.
If you already own Brown, or if you're looking for a 5'8", if you own a Katoa and you can get your player up to him, like a trade down, trade up, you know, you could go a Preston to someone like that, Wong, and then you could take Katoa up to Dylan Brown. And Dylan Brown and Maddo in this particular game, what a juicy matchup. And the good thing about Dylan Brown is he's got incredible base. He's probably got one of the best bases. Well, I think he has got the best base of any 5'8" in the game. I owned him right up until he got pinched for what he done. I would have kept him for the season hold. So if you've got a few trades there and you're looking for someone, Dylan Brown's the man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Brad Arthur said it very, very clear in the press conference last week after the game. Dylan is back. He's going to be very, very handy to have back. And he's going to be trying his hardest because he knows he has to prove himself to the team because he feels like he owes the team. So he's going to come out there strong, I think. He knows he screwed up and he wants to come out there and make it up to him. So
yeah, I think that's a very valid point on him and also on Latrell. So Gus Gould came out and had a lot to say about Latrell Mitchell, and we all know you should never knock a champion. So there's a big chance that Latrell could stand up just for that reason alone, you know, and then like do what these ones after he does what he does.
Yeah, that's it.
So you know, so Latrell and Dylan Brown, I'm tipping both of them, mate, for different reasons to have big games. I agree with you, mate.
Love it. Alrighty, last game we've got Canberra Raiders versus the Tigers in Canberra. Oh, really not much to think about in this game. I might not have any play. Oh, I'll have a few forwards maybe from the Raiders. That's about it for me.
Well, actually, no. There's one I actually do like. So Jordan Rapana. If you're looking for someone in a draft side or even a pod in your league side, I actually think Jordan Rapana's matchup in this game is actually really good. So the Tigers leak to right second rowers and fullbacks. They're the two positions that we seem to let points in. And I think we keep letting tries on one wing. I can't remember which wing it is, but I think it's the right side. It's on North.
Sure. Yeah, you have to say Notho's side for sure.
Notho's side, yeah, it's on Notho's side. We keep letting points in, but how good has Junior Tupou been? Just as from a football perspective, he's been really, really good. I love him from the Tigers. But yeah, I agree with you. Tarpany, Horse. I think Horse could even be a sell now if you're looking to a second role like Kaloa Matangi or someone, you know, a Nakora. And I even would argue that Bateman could be moved on. You know, I don't like anyone from the Tigers, to be fair. I really don't. I think Bateman would be the only one I would consider holding. I mean, his base, good thing about Bateman is he has really good base. You know, he gets 70s without doing anything, really.
Yeah. And he's a guy that'll fight for the game to the death as well. Like he is. So even if the game's gone, it's lost at 48-0, he'll still want to try and do something and fight to the death. So he'll still keep getting those points accumulated. That's right. And he does a lot of those touches things as well, where he sort of steps across the field and then offloads. He does a lot of late offloads. So, I mean, I you know, I wouldn't be rushing out to sell him unless you're bringing in someone with a bit of ceiling, like a Kaloa Matangi or someone. But the fact that they've got no buyer from memory up until the end, it makes him pretty much a hold anyway. Yeah, some safety there. You could have him as your 18th if you wanted to, really. The way they used Horse last week, he came off with 12 minutes to go in the first half, and he didn't come back on until about 22 minutes to go or something. Yeah. So he only played like 54 minutes. Yeah, which is frustrating because I think pretty much, I'm sure we called it last week that I said on the podcast that out of all Ricky's rotations, he has been the most consistent, and then he had to go and prove me wrong. I reckon he watches his podcast. Yeah. Yeah, he just did it to annoy super coaches. I'll tell Ricky now, if you're listening, Ricky, can you I'm gonna sell Horse, so play him however you want. He doesn't know if I've sold him or not. So if you want to put a bet down on this game, Sebastian Kris moves into centre. I think that either Sebastian Kris or Rapana anytime. Yeah, like it. All good. All right. So that's all the games wrapped up. Got some questions there from some viewers, mate. Let's go. Yeah, mate. We have some questions from people and a couple of jibes at me. But it's all in fun. As long as they're in good taste, I'll always read out. If you've got like we as much will read out banter as we will questions, as long as they're in good taste as these ones are. Yeah. So the first question was, I hope some guns tank so we can get them cheap next year. So it's not a question, it was just a statement. Is Bateman or Preston to Maddo worth a trade? I think we've already answered that. I think if you're going to choose one, I would choose Bateman. Yeah. just because of I think that Preston's been more consistent.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that Preston offers somewhat of a ceiling, although they both got really good base. But I really like the Maddo trade. I do. And he says also bringing in CNK or DWS this week, which one? I would say CNK based on the fact he's a fullback.
Bit more stability there with points. Or in saying that, I think his floor is probably slightly higher than DWZ's, but he has a pretty decent floor on him in those bad matchups. But the run home is great for the New Zealand.
Yeah,
so
you couldn't go wrong with either.
I reckon both of them. I'd have them both in my team for the run home if I needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would you play out of Meany, Mulatalo, or Munro? So that's interesting. So Munro's not going to play unless he comes in for Milne. I looked at that myself because they're not going to get rid of Johnson, Tass, or Graham, right? So the only person that he could possibly come in would be Tane Milne. If he was to be named on that right wing, my answer would be Munro, based on the fact that the Sharks leak in that position quite badly. So there's your answer. But the problem is he doesn't play till the third last game, which means that and the other two play before. And unless you get that answer before the other two games play, my answer would probably be Meany just based on base. I don't like any of them, mate. I really don't like any of the three. What's your take on it? Just because he goal kicks, I'd go Meany.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only decider is the goal kicking. Yeah. But it just sucks that they're playing before the Rabbitohs because Munro is that. I see Munro as that excitement player, like a Cobbo.
Agreed.
Where he could get some points there, much better ceiling, with a better matchup than Meany versus Panthers. I think they're letting in. I think they're the lowest ranking in letting points into fullbacks. Panthers are this year. So
we will know after the so let me just try and work this out quickly for them. So that game's at 7:30. So we'll know 7:30 Saturday night. So we won't know until after the Dolphins game. Anyway, we won't know until after that game, unfortunately. So, and the Melbourne Storm game's played on the Friday. So I would just play Meany and be safe, unless we hear something. And look, keep an eye on our page. Any updates that we get, late updates like that, we'll let you know, because I would like to play Munro myself over Taruva.
Yeah, I've got Munro on my team, just burning a hole in my team. So
yeah, well, I bought him to Muff as enough, and I thought if he plays, giddy up, and if he doesn't, he's my enough.
Well, I'm in a similar boat, so I could say right now, because I've got Taruva, Mulatalo on my bench with Munro, and I got Meany on the field. So, and that's what I made my mind up there. So it looks like Meany is my choice. So.
Yeah, I think so. I agree, Meany's the guy. So this one's another just a comment, but we'll say it anyway. With no trades left, can you recommend what I should sacrifice to the Supercoach gods so they will favour my team for the run home? I suggest the wife, mate.
Oh yeah, I think the Supercoach gods tend to like a more living human sacrifice. I think from what I've been told. I'll reach out to the Sangster in my next prayers.
So Corey, so that came from Jory, Jeff Fletcher. The immediate question. Sorry, I haven't been reading people's names. Corey Athanadis, would you fade Latrell for DWS?
Oh no, not in the world.
I have a lot of Warriors already in Sean Johnson, Aiden Fanua-Blake, CNK, Ford, and Toho. No, bro, don't. Go Latrell.
Yeah, Latrell every day of the week.
And
DWZ, if you look at his scores throughout, I haven't even looked at them right now. I can tell you it'd be like 150, 80, 17.
Yeah.
It's so up and down. And like with Latrell, you get 74, 80, maybe at 60, and then the week after you get a 130. Like it's just, with Latrell it's going to be there up there and competitive.
And based on the fact he's already got 5 Warriors, you know what I mean? Which is good for the run home now, like you're not going to add a 6 to that equation and hope for anything better. I mean, at least if they have a stinker, you've got Latrell, like I would go Latrell. So no, the answer's no. I might have argued on a different player there, but not DWZ. This one's from Travis Bishkoff, and I will read it to you because it's banter. I won 9 out of my 10 head-to-heads, and the one I lost, I get told about. Travis Bishkoff, sorry about your loss last round, Glenn Fisher. I'm ranked 245 at the moment. Slight brag. What are the preferred centre wings for the run home? Okay, that's a good question. And well done, Travis. Like, I don't mind that. I don't really.
Add some banter in there and ask a question. great contributor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't mind banter. We love it. As long as it's
Yeah.
in good taste. And that was.
Yep. One player, one of my favorite players for the run home, and I've said it last week, and I just based on the draw, there's two that I'd pick from draw alone, and that's Mazu and Asako. I really like both those two for the run home with the draw they've got and the ceiling that they've got.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And I think Manu, Garrick aren't horrible ones either, but there's a few you could throw in there, like Charles Nichols Clockstead.
mm,
I'm just looking through. You could even have a Penasini. There was someone else that I just thought about then. Oh, Best, Bradman Best, or
mm,
Farnsworth, if you're looking for someone. But yeah, based on draw, I do like the Knights back rowers.
mm,
I've got Azako, I've got Manu, I've got Azako, Manu. I can't even think who the other one is. Gosh,
mm.
I'm going terrible. I've got Taruba, I've got another bigger one. Garrick, Manu, Ozako, Taruba, Smith, Munro, and someone else. So,
Mm.
but I was considering going to CNK myself from Manu, believe it or not.
Mm.
But I think I'm just going to hold my trades. But yeah, they're the ones that Alex Johnson could be an answer. Tass, Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else really, mate. Can you? I think the Knights and Warriors ones would be the two with the best draws.
Yeah, definitely. I like safety of Garrick. But
Me too.
yeah, I think the Manly is a bit falling behind at the moment, so I'm not sure how they're gonna carry on with the ceiling players there. But still, you can't go. You can go worse than Garrick for the run home.
I don't hate Tupou either. I think Tupou just seems to keep crossing. Although he has pretty good base, but yeah, I think the ones with Meany, Azarko, and Garrick, at least they're goal kicking, so you've got that.
Yeah.
And then add in one extra from there. Like a Marzu, Best, whatever. Yep, that's it for that.
Love it. Awesome. All right, let's I'll try and keep as much under my belt as possible, but let's talk trades this week. What are you thinking, Glenn, if any?
Well, I'm not trading, mate. So if I do, it'll be Dylan Brown. I'm considering actually going Cody Walker to Dylan Brown, but I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to hold trades. I'm not trading at all this week. My side's quite set for this round. The only one I considered was going Manu to CNK. It was one I sort of flashed a thought, but I'm actually not trading at this point, mate.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid trading if I possibly can.
Yeah.
So that's truthful there. But if I need to make any trades, I've got a few ideas where I'm looking at, say, offloading, say, Dylan Edwards, who I've got in my team, and I've got with Jules, and then I can work around. I can find a really good pod in that position. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking at there. If I need to go anything else, I had also thought about going Hallsborough out for Maddo. That was one of my other trades I was thinking about.
Edwards for Dylan Brown sounds good.
Yeah, it would be very nice, that one. So, and then like having Horse to Madison as well. I think Horse has definitely peaked. What is it, 647 at the moment? It might be the right time. And Maddo is low 500. So, just to think of, even if just for value to get that trade at the point now, like it'd be like jumping on Murray 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That value. So, but other than that, I'm just trying to avoid trying to trade for now and save my trades to run home, because I think I've got five left now. I think I'm pretty happy with that for the run home. But yeah, captain, vice captain, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so mine's going to be pretty generic this round. I'm going to vice captain Cleary, and I'm going to captain. Even though it's versus Storm, I still think it's Cleary. And I'm just going to straight captain Ponga.
Well, did you also?
Sorry, I meant to say, I might buy captain Ponga and captain Maddo or Hopgood.
Yeah. I am tossing up my VC instead of going Cleary to go SJ. I like that of SJ as a sneaky little pod VC. And then I've got, because what they play game 2, so I got the choice of anyone to captain. I got Latrell Mitchell, I got Ponga, can mix it around a little bit. The only person I can't captain if I do that is I can't captain Cleary, which I wouldn't captain Cleary this week anyway. I don't think so.
I don't know Sean Johnson, but if I did, he would be my vice captain.
Yeah, I love that. I'm loving that score there. So
yeah,
awesome. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, that's all I can think of for now. Scores in the Andrew Johns Cup. SS is still winning. We're kicking along pretty nice in there. We're setting up for the. Don't forget with the BBL coming up, guys, that we'll be setting up the Shane Warnes Cup. So as soon as NRL finishes, start hitting us up for your teams. I'm only going to allow 10 teams for the BBL, and already sort of 6 of them are chosen. So you want to get in quick the other 4, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I think what is this BBL normally kicks off around early December. I'm pretty sure from memory.
13th,
Yeah. So I think one of the first games I think might be in Canberra, so I can go down and have a quick watch of that game, which would be good. So
that'd be
I think
good.
the opening game last year was in Canberra too, which is great. So
Yeah, that'd be good, mate.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and tune in next week, and hopefully we see some green arrows.
Good luck, everyone.